And we're back after game number 1. CLG Faith down in the series for now, as Immortals Challengers picked up game number 1. NXI, he was trying his best to get fed, carry on the Kindred, and it felt like the team was actually, you know, showing a lot more direction than we have been seeing so far, despite the fact that Town got so heavily targeted in the mid lane early on. So I think signs of life, Joshi, for CLG Faith overall.
Signs of life, but they're the same signs of life. You know, you get the little blip on the radar. It's like, oh, what is that? Oh, it's still CLG Faith. And I really hope this is something that they can kind of work on with how unstable the roster has been. It's been really hard for them to kind of develop playstyles over the course of the split. We were hoping Town might be able to show something, but as you said, with like 4 or 5 visits from Joey and Chad over the course of the laning phase, there's not a lot that you can do.
Not really. But, Tigers, I want to give this one to you. What'd you think of Balulu? Did he live up to the hype that Joshi gave him going into that game?
I'm just happy that I got to see Balulu Zoe on that. Like,
yes.
I feel like for that to be the first game of his that I'm casting of the year was truly a present. And that's the thing. You saw CLG Faith trying to give some resources over towards top after that solo kill that Bajani got, and being that that is where many of the advantages have come in the past when they are acquired. But then Balulu just doing the things mid, getting the jungler and the support around to ensure that there was always that lockdown if he couldn't hit himself, but he was hitting it all the time.
Yep. I think the solo kill for Bajani in particular was really cool to see. In the counter matchup, right? Like, as a Scion into the Cho'Gath, that's impressive. So, we're going to play a little bit of a game here. Again, we like to keep it fun while we give the players time to get ready for game number 2. So, while they're loading up and getting ready for pick and ban, we're going to relive game number 1 in another game show here called Salty Soundboard. So, Rafa introduced this game. It was a great concept, so I'm just, again, shamelessly ripping it off of him, because I also have a soundboard, and I was recording moments from the game, and I'm going to play them back for your ears and the audience's ears, and you're going to have to guess the context or the moment in the game that I took this sample from. Have I explained the rules clearly?
Yeah.
All right.
We still buzz.
We still buzz. So I'm going to start off with just 1 second. You get 1 second to hear the clip. Then, if neither of you can get it, we're going to go to 3 seconds. If neither of you can get it, we're going to go to 5 seconds. Afterwards, we'll take a look at the clip and walk through the implications that it had on the overall game. Okay?
I'll be so bad. I'm ready.
Gabby, I need you to practice. Buzz!
Buzz!
Okay, good. We got it. All right.
Wait, did that turn off one of your lights?
Did that turn... Wait, are they clap activated?
I don't, you know, my force was just that strong, okay?
Okay. It definitely got a little bit dimmer. I don't know why.
All right,
I told you I'm a superhero, guys. When are you going to believe me?
The superpowers. Yeah. Let's go.
Let's play the first clip.
By NXI.
Oh.
Oh.
Oh. By NXI.
I'll play it again.
By NXI.
Buzz.
Oh, we actually have a buzz. Okay.
That is... NXI is sitting behind Town, and Joey goes for the first gank, and then Town dashes forward and dies.
What? How did you
Let's
get
go!
that?
I had no idea.
How did you possibly get that with 1 second? I was like the 1 second. You're not supposed to get it at 1 second, Joshi.
Let's go! I'm on
fire. We
fire
need to give
today.
players time to rest and get ready. We're supposed to fill time here, not blaze through it. All right, let's take a look at the clip, because he got it off of 1 second.
Goes for the charm, and NXI here to follow up upon it, and Balulu with the burst and sleeping as well.
Yeah, turned into 2 kills.
The only thing I could think was because it was low enough by NXI, just to get my own voice, like, okay, it wasn't NXI, so it wasn't at the end of a fight. That's all I got.
Yep.
Now, I had 2 hints. One, that was a good one. Like, it's clearly a setup. So there's either the mid lane or the top lane, right? Because NXI didn't go bottom lane, like, at all this game. And then the other thing that I got was a bit metagamey. Steve tends to pick his clips in order and tends to do them in order when they happen in the game.
Hey, that is unfair, Joshi. All right, you know what? Let's swap the order up then. Here's the second one. Here's the second one.
Now we know that it's going to be later in the game.
No, you don't. No, you don't.
No. He gets the cleanup.
Sorry, I didn't hear it. One more time?
All right. Well, hey, Gabby, did you hear it? This is your chance. You got an advantage.
Gets the cleanup. Is that talking about Wixie on the Zeri later around Baron side before like the Quadra? Or
Tigress, you didn't buzz.
oh,
Buzz!
Oh, Joshi got it.
It's the setup for the Quadra.
The Tigress, you got a buzz. I was so clear on the rules.
Yo, someone, if you just look at the score of these games, they're gonna be like, "What in the flippin' world?"
The worst part. The worst part, Gabby, is I didn't even hear what the clip was. I had no idea what it was.
The Daggers knew it though. Let's take a look at the clip. Let's take a look. So this is number 3, by the way. I know that this is probably confusing for production because I just swapped up the order of everything to spite the casters. I think production has it. Thank you for rolling with the punches. Let's take a look.
Gets the cleanup onto town. NXI still on the retreat, and then Wixie finding another burst, gets the double, looking for the triple, but all the while you have Balulu and ADD zone.
Y'all.
Yep, we didn't get the final quadra kill call right there. But that was a sick play from Wixie, and one of the things that Zeri can do, it's like if you're near a wall, you can reposition quite easily in a team fight. And Joshi, you called it in the replay, get around the tank. You know, you don't need to worry about the tanks in front of you if you can just jump the wall and then go kind of run past them. So,
yeah.
Cool stuff.
I mean, I love watching good play like that. As a tank player, it feels really bad when people ignore me. So when people are hitting me, even though like I'm taking damage, it's like, yes, I'm doing my job.
I have a purpose. All right, I think we got time for one more. So let's get into it. Tigress, I think you're going to get this one.
Going between sleep and burst and
Oh well. This is Bolulu when
Oh.
he was.
What did
Gabby?
you? Tigress, stop! You got buzz. All right, that counts. It's a buzz. That's a buzz. Yes. Continue.
Bolulu was killing lots of people.
Yeah.
I'm now so thrown off by my terrible buzzing. I can't even form.
You know, we'll give it. We'll give it. Let's take a look at the clip, and then we're going to get into pick and ban. One final clip. This is number 4 production. Clip number 4. The final ending push, because I love the call so much, so let's listen to it.
It was a 9.
sleep and burst and pop, and Kindred has another bubble getting hit right now, and CLG can't.
Oh my gosh.
There it is.
That was
Sleep and pop and burst and bubble and all the things that just made NXI's life not very fun.
why I've literally taught college classes and I cannot follow a basic command of kindergarten of Simon Says.
I'm
What is-
sorry.
what
I
is
wish I could be
happening?
more lenient with the rules, but somebody has to keep the desk in order.
I know what
will
my
be
homework
me.
is. This is
Buzz.
Yes.
buzz. Yep.
Yeah,
Next
what's
time,
the
if
term?
we're
It's
ever on a
like,
show together again, you'll know I don't mess around with that. But that does mean Joshi is well ahead of Tigers right now in the overall score. So Joshi, I think you were like what, all 4 points in the last game?
I think so. Partly because I
deception.
didn't remember to buzz.
I think it would have been 2 and 2. Yeah,
Yeah,
Tigers
there
should be ahead right now.
There's definitely one buzz where I was like, oh, I actually hit it, but I think I hit it where like my noise gate didn't even pick it up. So there's like
no.
one time where I actually did it, but it didn't even come through. And I was like, you know what? I give up. I can't.
It's that one was my superpower.
Yeah. Joshi can turn off the sound equipment. Gabby can turn off the lights. Let's send it into pick and ban because game number 2 is ready to go underway.
Controllers of sight and sound. We really are quite the dynamic duo.
Yeah.
Gosh.
Well, we're getting to our 4th game of the day here, Gabby. CLG Faith versus Immortals Challengers. CLG Faith still looking to pick up their 2nd win of the season. And I feel like they had some of the pieces for success in the last game, right? But Johnny got a bunch of solo kills onto ADD. They were helping get NXI fed. NXI had a bunch of kills. But as always, it feels so much as though this team is decent at laning and then doesn't know how to continue to make plays after that. And CLG Faith has been continuing to struggle with that and continuing. Whereas IMT, I mean, eventually, if you just give Balulu 2 kills, he will just start popping people.
I think that was one of the biggest difference makers in where the advantages were happening for both teams, because IMT, they've made it very clear they have faith in Balulu. Balulu has faith in himself, and they're willing to follow up on that and just let him do the things he knows how to do, right? You're saying, hey, this is our carry, gonna get a lot of gold, we're cool. Whereas CLG were trying to answer, which is what you want to see, answering the state of the game and where those advantages are created on top side, but it's much more difficult to try and translate that top side advantage into victories later on when you're carries, even though we saw NXI was getting some of those kills, was then eventually getting bursted later on. But this time around, CLG Faith over on blue side, see how they want to shake things up.
Yeah, one of the things that I do really want to see is we know Town very much is an Irelia Silas player more than anything else, and I really want to see Town set up for success. Something that we've been seeing with our more successful rookies, like with Evil Geniuses when they were playing with Robbie, Bob, and Mobility, was the fact that they didn't put a whole lot of expectations on them. They were just saying, hey, we're going to give you champions that we know you're comfortable on, that are going to allow us to play towards our carries, and one of the things that Town and NXI were doing quite well in the game that they played together, where their second game last week, is that NXI would set things up and then Town would capitalize on them. And I feel like that's a very natural way for CLG Faith to potentially try and find some modicum of a comeback in the second game of the series. There we go.
That one. And
that one.
The mid-jungle duo is always something that will gain benefit if you invest in developing it. There are a lot of teams that commit to even building rosters first based on those positions because of the effect that they have on the rest of the map. So when you've had a lot of switch-ups on your squad between the bot lane kind of coming around, Town being new, maybe you do take that fresh perspective of, let's see what work we can put into NXI and Town really being able to move with one another. But part of that is going to be dependent on what approach they do want to take in draft. A different look for CLG Faith right here, taking the typical Sejuani, but very different than the Kindred, to offer that facilitation for the rest of your lanes, whereas IMT have responded by getting the Xayah Rakan duo that has surged back into popularity as of recent patches.
Yeah. Interestingly enough to see that this karma is coming through, right? One of the things that we were saying was that oftentimes they're missing out on some like playmaking tools, but now NXI is going to be having the playmaking tools. He's going to be relying on the rest of the team to actually be doing the damage. And so I'm actually a little bit surprised to see Town rolling out this Akali, right? He's been playing a lot of melee champions, but he has not played Akali in competitive since June of last year, where they were playing against Team Large. Oh, I know what team that is. Never mind. But it's been a while, right? It's been more than 6 months. It's been like 8 months since they actually played as Akali. And with the Irelia still available, with the Silas still available, this is putting Town in a situation where they are kind of comfortable. But the reason why you pick the Sejuani and you pair it with Silas a lot of the time is because you have those super fast auto attacks over and over again to go for a lot of these plays.
And I mean, if we're talking about the different look from CLG Faith with really having that ability to go for the plays, IMT Challengers coming through with a Graves lock-in for the third pick.
Yeah. Interesting thing, actually, to be picking up here. I'm almost definitely expecting this to be going over to Chad, saying, hey, I'm tired of playing the Vive, playing the Sejuani. Give me something where I can actually pop off on. We'll be taking that into the jungle. Typically, we see Gore Drinker builds becoming this big frontline for the team that just constantly does damage over time. But as the bans come through, Zoe not a big surprise based on Balulu's previous performance. It's also worth noting that Aaron's first 4 games, at least, maybe even more when he joined the Challengers League, were on this Ezreal. And it's definitely something that I have been very comfortable on. And also a very common pairing for the Karma. So I'm kind of curious what it is that Aaron will kind of default to. It feels like if they wanted to go for the Lucian, they probably should have picked it in their second rotation of picks.
Yeah, I am also curious as to the direction they go because, yeah, that Ezreal call out, I feel like a lot of times when bot laners are brought together for the first time or recently, and, you know, this is still a bot lane that's trying to get their footing, a lot of them do lean on picks like the Ezreal because it's such a staple and then also has an additional layer of safety. So you have a bit more wiggle room. So when you take that off, you're wondering, okay, do they go into some of the picks that we are normally seeing in the bot lane as of late or something a little different, especially with that Lucian pick still around? IMT Challengers responding. They have the Lissandra locked in here.
Yeah, interesting. This is not a pick that has been particularly popular, but I mean, has had a historically good matchup into the Akali just because of the amount of crowd control that you can put into the character and how resistant you are to a lot of these potential plays coming out from the other side of the map. Now, as we take another look at the rest of the draft, IMT, very, very short range, but it's something that both teams have kind of opted into. Both teams are going to be just brawling in this upcoming fight. And the one thing about that is that IMT currently have an AD carry that is very good at dealing with these front lines, right? The crit coming out early for the Xayah, the relative safety that they have means that they can do a ton of damage, whereas CLG, they really need to pick a high damage AD carry. The Aphelios can do it. The Tristana is kind of but I actually feel like this Kog'Maw could be a very big pick here for Aaron.
Fiddling around a little bit, they end up going for the Aphelios. That has also been coming up recently. There's a lot of versatility in the way that you can approach him and just really being a threat later on, but seemed like you were a little hesitant there, Joshi, on them going in this direction.
I just don't think Aphelios is very good right now, right? Like, this character is okay over the course of the last couple of weeks. There's a lot of characters that just have a much stronger wake-up historically, and now we get to see ADD taking a different potential counter into the Sion. We've seen players like Bradley and Faisal have a lot of success on this Olaf into the Sion as well, but we also saw Bijani just rocked a previously really good matchup for ADD, right? ADD got solo killed multiple times, got fed over to NXI multiple times, and now on this Olaf, you have a much bigger downside if you aren't strong on this champion. So this is a little bit of a gauntlet being thrown by IMT's top side of the board, and also a character that can kind of ignore a lot of the strengths that the CLG roster has in terms of just the amount of crowd control that they picked for themselves in order to rely upon that to deal with all the short-range characters in IMT.
So some volatility over in that top lane when you are considering both the matchup, but the way it was playing out in game number 1 and seeing how these players bounce in a very different way. CLG Faith bringing that draft around the early Sejuani lock-in. You know there's going to be a lot of melees coming in to really capitalize, but I like the response from IMT Challengers. Picks like the Lissandra, ones that are clearly meant to have a purpose against this CLG squad, because when you know how to hit them buttons right with a Lissandra, you can really just completely cancel out some of the threats that someone like an Akali has. But it's the entirety of IMT making their movement towards this bot side. Aaron first into the vicinity, sees him out.
We've been seeing that there's a couple of games from Baloo's Lissandra historically, and I love the fact that they're actually going for the Electrocute in order to have that little bit of extra damage, because if you take a look at what CLG's roster or composition is looking like, they have 0 cleanses. That is a lot of damage that Baloo can just put out, blow up a single target, and it kind of forces Sketch to build an early Mikhails, but it only kills 1 target per fight. That's not something where you can rely on helping out every single person. It also pushes back a lot of the early play that Sketch could have with something like an Imperial Mandate or Shirelias or even a Moonstone.
Yeah, I think looking at the build direction will have an impact on the way that CLG does have those fights. Are you going for the slow? Are you going for a bit more of that protective capability? Different options in how they can gravitate. IMT making a clear choice for themselves. Chad invading CLG Faith's jungle. They even had the bot lane kind of escorting him. They are responding to where CLG are starting right now. So something that you don't always see as often in the new season because of the changes, but when you do so effectively can have a benefit.
Ooh, big damage.
Going on in. And Sketch did get a bit chunked, trying to throw it back. This means that the flash is no longer available for CLG Faith support player in Sketch.
I'm always entertained when you say throw it back because it makes me think of dancing.
Yeah.
I don't know
big dancer,
Sketch is the kind of... Yeah, well, I'm not a big dancer, but I also don't expect that Sketch is much of a dancer either. Maybe we can get it to throw it back a little bit next time we actually have an interview.
Maybe he's like a dance in the mirror kind of person, right? Like,
throw it back.
We don't know that life, but...
Yeah. It is worth noting it is worth noting at the very least that Sketch, we talked about it a little bit. There's a number of players that have role swapped to support in recent years. Sketch is one of the newest ones, right, who was playing AD as recently as summer 2022 and is now switched over to the support role, but had to play AD throughout the first half of this season so far just because of the late exit of one of their other players. And so it's been an interesting time watching Sketch try and adapt. I feel like they've definitely shown a lot more familiarity with a lot of these range supports than a lot of the engage supports thus far, just because of how willing they are to get good auto spacing into their fights.
One of Sketch's advantages as a player and just overall strengths is game knowledge, and I think when coming into the support position, that can really be allowed to shine in the way that you can offer those opportunities for your team to, or particularly in lane as well, to just capitalize upon the matchup. You can see for a moment NXI hovering towards that bot side, but there was warding to catch him out. So ensuring that Aaron and Sketch were still safe as they pushed that wave up. Over on top, ADD and Bajani made a habit of slamming into each other during the last game. And this time, Chad hovering over on the top side if he needs to offer some assistance for a collapse onto Bajani.
Yeah, and Chad actually doing a really good job taking away a lot of these camps. However, it is worth noting that here in Season 13, there's not a lot of advantage you can get by counter jungling. It really is going back and farming your own jungle immediately afterwards to farm that. You see another engage?
Oh, Joey's still going for it. The root on the return. I mean, that's what you're going to see by a Rakan player, and like Joey trying to go in on this lane and have that retreat available with a battle dance if needed. So with CLG Faith, you have to think about the fact that Aphelios no flash. That's always going to be a flag. Obviously, we're still waiting for the Karma one to come up as well, but for both junglers in their need to actually keep them protected or offer a little bit of extended action as Joey does exactly that. Goes on in, gets the root. First blood here for Wixie. Great play and follow-up from Joey off of what was previously acquired.
Yeah, and just as you said, it's still the flag coming out for the potential junglers, right? Joey, having committed both summoners, will have a little bit of a window where they aren't as strong, but Aaron needs to be very careful with all these grand entrances, because if you come in and Chad is also there, that's another potential kill going over. We've been seeing this combo, right? It was the Lucian Nami for a long time that would do this kind of thing to people with flash bubbles. Now, you just get the instant root, the instant knockup coming out from Rakan, and there's not a whole lot that Aaron could have done about that. So great stuff coming out from Wixie and Joey, starting to take control of this game early on.
And for a lane that we're looking at as a potential place where IMT can lean in the future if we continue to track that development of Wixie, and liking seeing how Wixie and Joey are able to understand that lane matchup and the fact that Aphelios being very immobile early on, and once that flash is expelled, there's just so much opportunity to land that lockdown. So IMT with a slight advantage in gold currently, having gotten that first blood. And a bit of a CS advantage for Lissandra, having a bit of that range over in mid lane. Teleport now used by ADD just to get back to lane, and matching against Bajani that just did the same.
Yeah, it looks like all 4 teleports are going to be expended all at once. Bajani, ADD, Baloo, and then we'll see if Town matches. They do. All 4 teleports off, will not have it available for the next 6 minutes. And that does mean that IMT, I mean, they do have the ability to roam a little bit more proactively, right? Now that Baloo has the Lost Chapter completed, they are much more free to move around the map. But NXI coming down bottom lane.
A root onto Joey, but it's at a distance and in the bush. And you see the patience from Chad, standing on top of a control, knows that he's safe, hoping that Aaron and Sketch step forward, but NXI deciding to retreat in this moment's time. How much does Chad want to commit here, really trying to just respond to the enemy team? They're not making any of those movements forward, so there's no reason to stay.
Yeah, and this is one of those things where we were talking about how Kevy would oftentimes spend a lot of time sitting in one of these bushes looking for opportunities. Chad does it. I mean, his camps are just now spawning up on the top side, so it's not a lot of time missed out on cycling his camps, and because his bottom lane is able to get that priority, able to pull the dragon, they're going to be picking this one up as well. And ADD just feels like a full court press coming out from IMT this time around. And we already said that when CLG Faith had some of these good early games, it was oftentimes not enough. When they don't have good early games, games tend to be pretty fast.
you're already having a hard time closing out games in the late game, even when you have a lead, it becomes that much more difficult to imagine ways to come back when you're not able to execute on that lead. And IMT right now, even though it's not a very kill-heavy game, except we might get the second one in the bot lane once again. The root return, but Wixie here with another kill onto the enemy ADC, throws out the ultimate. Featherstorm not in the position for a Sketch to get caught by it, but enough to zone away. Do they want to continue on for the kill? In the end, they can still get plates, and Joey can just position to zone off.
Yeah, I mean, just looking for something cheeky there, but that's still something very strong. Now looking for NXI.
Yeah, Chad looking to punish over here into the jungle. NXI finds himself between a Chad and Bolulu and an ADD. Town in the vicinity, but not much you can do to try and get a return. No one low enough or isolated to get the kill.
Bajani.
Yeah, Bajani here for the collapse. So now can they do something about Chad? Was looking for the blast cone, ends up phoning into the rest of the fight, flashes away, but still loses the life. The pursuit is good here from ADD. Ragnarok activated. Attempt from Town to get away, but the life traded once more. Bajani should be the next to fall. So multiple kills going out during this skirmish on the top side, and an attempt to finish off ADD, but the passive has been exhausted.
I mean, they get one back, it goes over to Bajani, and we set him up as a bit of a win condition in game one, but that didn't come to fruition, and so much more gold going over to IMTC in this one. Aaron's flash still not up.
Coming in with the quickness, gets the charm, and you just layer it with more knockup and the damage that Wixie can throw. You have the feathers to try and slice through with the collar. Aaron goes down. Joey does get the kill credit on that one, but it's overall an advantage that has been extending on that bot side. The gold lead for IMT now pushed past 3.2K. They are feeling good about what they accomplished in the last minute and a half.
And this is the form that we were used to seeing Joey in last year, right? When IMT actually made their super deep Proving Grounds run. It's partly because Joey was able to make a lot of these plays. He's really patient a lot of times in these games with actually throwing out the abilities. Using the charm before actually hitting the knockup at all definitely maximizes some of the crowd control duration to allow Wixie to catch up, and now he's in the mid lane.
Lulu getting the lock. There's the knockup follow-up. See Joey right now just unlocked. You know, we're in the mid lane. I'm just thinking of the other Jay. But Town actually ends up getting out of it. You saw how low both of those HP bars got. So even though there's the lockup, it was so close to safety. So I think Town feeling good about at least being able to escape. But the pressure up from IMT. ADD. Now a little worried because he got NXI and he got Sketch and he got Aaron. Everyone is surrounding. Ragnarok ain't enough to hold you down in this one. Was looking to get a slam onto Aaron, but cannot do enough. CLG finding a pick for themselves to get this wave pushed.
And IMT, I mean, they give up one, but they still have so much more control on the map. ADD will, however, lose about 2 plates off of this, as Bajani should be picking up that Demolish proc relatively shortly. But still, the side of the map that is strong is the bottom side for IMT. Wixie and Joey doing so much damage. They're already on the Kraken Slayer, and we were saying that there's not a whole lot of threat coming out from CLG Faith onto the back line of IMT. Wixie should be relatively able to free hit during these upcoming team fights. And yes, getting that kill over to Aaron will help, but I feel like the damage has largely already been done.
Yeah, the damage has been done, and we're going to see more and more damage as they continue to get strengthened within the rest of this game. Look at that gold in the pocket of Wixie compared to Aaron, even though you're wanting this Aphelios to be able to hit so strong. And even in the mid lane, right, the advantages that have been extending for Immortals on their heaviest damage dealers, they will be able to definitely reap some benefits. Right now, this was the Rift Herald that CLG was able to get off of some of the skirmishes off across the map, so they want to get this to slam down. Ooh. Joey is hoping to minimize the effect of this Herald, still gets the slam in, but CLG can't get any additional picks off of it.
And this is actually kind of good from CLG, right? Being proactive with their lane rotations, moving people around, making sure that their waves are not getting picked up or just going into their own turret, and forcing IMT to respond to that does actually win them a teleport at the very least. And so Bajani is going to be the first one down to move. The dragon spawning in 10 seconds. This could be a setup for CLG Faith.
But meanwhile, over on the top side, ADD left alone for a little bit of time, wants to try and push this wave in. There's still 3 plates to be had. There's still about 1 minute and 45 for anybody to grab some of those up. Just looking at some of the other turrets and what has been accrued thus far, because we haven't actually seen any of the turrets come down just yet, despite there being a lot of pressure across some lanes. But look at the plate advantage over in that bot side that has been accumulated. So much pressure. Or wait, he was covering the icon, so never mind. But it was I mean, just the advantage overall of IMT. I was thinking that they had gotten a little more on that tower, but they've been focusing on the farm and the kills otherwise to really create this lead that allows them to take this dragon.
We should be looking at objectives falling relatively soon as the dragon does go down. And CLG, I mean, they're just a little bit later now. We were praising them for their early reallocations of lanes. And now it's IMT who are being a bit more aggressive on the bottom side of the map. They still have Chad hanging out at NXI. Town, you know people are here.
Yeah, we're starting to get a little bit of crossing between the toes. Town in the center of it all. Chad getting marked down to half HP, and Bolulu for the same. Drops the ultimate onto himself for the extended healing and more. Sketch almost brought out of the fight. Chad going over the wall because he's so knocked down, but in the end, it's Chad eliminated for 2 thus far in NXI and Sketch. A retreat attempted, but more death to be had. Wixie and the rest of the IMT squad are kind of funneled over onto this jungle side, but an ultimate from Wixie allows him to follow off. A route extended onto Bajani in pursuit of the enemy bot laner here, but look at them feathers slicing through. Immortals killing multiple for CLG and coming out on top here.
And you can tell that IMT is having a lot of fun with this game at this point. They just feel so strong that they can extend some of these fights. They feel so good about their ability to just flip hands checks over and over their opponents. This is a little bit wild, right? Like, Town just coming in and getting a little bit caught, but IMT, they overextend their battle lines, and they actually give up their front line quite a bit. Chad takes so much damage because he's not tanky yet. And because Aaron gets here first, as Wixie tails him, Aaron actually gets to do a fair amount of damage, but the problem is, as his front line falls, suddenly he's no longer flanking. Suddenly he's just alone and has to leave the fight. Whereas Town, Johnny, Aaron, they all take turns coming in kind of one by one, saying, I think I can. But unfortunately, this isn't a children's book.
I wanted you to continue with it. I wanted you to keep doing that. Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, Bajani's got the whole train. I think I can. What was that book called again? The Engine That Could. Little Engine That Could. There it is.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
I could not. That's the same one as Thomas, right? Like Thomas the. Or is that a different one?
Different.
Is there more than one train? Like kid thing? I guess trains are very
Little
popular.
Engine That Could, right? It's like the what's the rainbow fish?
I don't.
With all the pretty scales.
The rainbow fish is like a cartoon, or
no,
like
it's
an
another
actual
children's
fish?
book. It's got like sparkly scales, and then everyone's like, "Oh my gosh, you're so pretty," and the fish goes like, "I know, and is very conceited about it, and then has no friends left.
Oh yeah! Oh my gosh! Yeah, there's so many good.
Anyway.
Now, I'm gonna add that to my rotation. But I know that Immortals are looking to add another turret and another fight to their roster here, getting a kill. Oh, okay. So Immortals continuing to pressure up. They do get the turret, and Sketch was just effectively chunked out of this fight so much. So CLG, the remainder that are here, are in very dangerous territory. Sketch wanted to get the lockdown on Joey upon the entrance, but Joey's just looking to weave in and out to keep the pressure up. Yeah, Bajani was hanging out over on bot side. Coming in with the ultimate right on the opposite side of the Feather Storm. Gets to slam the Q onto Wixie, but look, the root and more. Joey over the wall. They kill the tank. Take him out of the fight. And Immortals, they have just been really playing together, Joshi, and knowing where they're able to pressure on the map, feeling good about the lead that they have accumulated. Yeah. Plenty of bounties available for CLG Faith, which shows just the dominance of IMT thus far in the recent fights.
That felt like a cinematic moment, though, you know? Where you have one of those spots, you're playing like up against this really big enemy like Dark Souls or something, or in the Shadow of the Colossus, where you just have this massive, massive thing bearing down on you, and you just jump over it. Like,
jump over the train.
Jump over the train, yeah. Like a Matrix moment. Well, Either way, IMT, they are so far ahead in this game at this point, and IMT, we said that they need to pick up both of these games here up against CLG Faith, and they've done a pretty darn good job of it. It's been Balulu and Wixie in particular, both games who have been the big playmakers, and now they just need to actually close it out. They scale really, really well in this game, so the game going late isn't inherently an issue for IMT, but one of the challenges we always give to teams when they are this far ahead is how cleanly and how quickly can you actually end this game. And IMT, with the way that Joey's been playing, should be able to do it pretty easily.
Joey playing very well on those engages, 5-0 for the carries. And IMT, right, they're sitting at 9-12. They're looking to hit that double-digit territory, but really get those cleanup moments. And Balulu going through to get one lockdown onto Bajani, who has to flash over the wall for the rest of the team. They don't have a fight follow-up, but they did get one of the flashes off of CLG Faith and just keep pressuring them closer and closer towards their fountain side, which gives IMT the opportunity to not just extend their warding that way, but let Chad focus on the dragon to put themselves on soul points.
Yeah. It's also interesting to kind of look at the history of Joey as a player, right? Because the last time they were in LCS was in 2017, where they were on 4th place CLG, and ever since then has kind of hovered in the Academy, Challengers, semi-pro ecosystem, where they've kind of constantly been like on middle of the pack teams, right? And it's definitely a spot where I feel like Joey's career has been this big up and down, playing with 100V, or playing with Immortals, playing with Wildcard, playing with Team Liquid Academy before that, and every single time it feels as though one of the things that we're kind of looking at for Joey is if they're in this form all the time, and they can kill town like this every single time, it's hard to argue that they shouldn't get another chance.
And this form is allowing them to set up another fight. Town under the shroud, wanting to damage Balulu into the backline. Sketch wanted to get the lockdown with the tether, but Immortals coming out on top in this fight thus far, taking down 2. And with the biggest damage dealers no longer around for CLG, Immortals can take the tier 2 across mid, all the while ADD pressuring that top side.
And it feels as though they should be going for Baron right now, but Gabby, it's only 19 minutes into the game. Like, the way that Balulu, Joey, and Wixie have kind of teamed up and taken turns to just beat up these players, beat up these structures, has been a huge opportunity, and Balulu just sidesteps that one.
Now the focus of Bajani and more into stasis once more. Teleport in from ADD. They're looking to throw it back onto Bajani. There, I put throw it back in there just for you, Joshi. But Immortals, it feels like CLG are wanting to make their stand against them in multiple situations, but they know the strength that Immortals have in this game and the stronghold thus far. As we still have 20 seconds to go until we hit that 20-minute marker.
Yeah. This is definitely one of those things that kind of is reminiscent of the Challengers team for Faith, right? Like, when CLG Challengers are losing, it's because they feel a little bit uncoordinated, right? Unfortunately, CLG Faith, they send one person in and it's, I think I can, I think I can, I think I can. Every single one's a little engine that could, but unfortunately, there's 5 engines that can on the other side every single time. And now as Immortals start up the Baron, there are already 3 dragons. They're going to be getting a soul at about 23 minutes, like one of the fastest souls, potentially, I think we've seen this entire season. And IMT are ready to close this one out. We kind of looked a little bit, Gabby, at the rest of the season that Immortals had. We said that they should expect to go 4-0 this week up against CLG, Faith, and then FlyFam later. They're already well on their way to doing that.
A good way to start off that momentum that they hope to build across these and continue to build these knockups and engages and more. I mean, even while Immortals was taking that Baron, you see all that red across the jungle? You see that there's nowhere that CLG can move through to find any kind of flanking angle, and all the while Joey always blocking off, following up on this Rift Herald that they end up dropping down while taking the Baron just to get a bit more of that pressure and use all of the utility at their disposal. IMT continue to leverage everything that they have in this matchup against CLG. But CLG, it's one of those ones. Yeah, you've got Town going and facing off against ADD on the opposite side. But that's one of the difficult things. We see Town in the center of them trying to execute someone, but can't quite find the targets. And a lot of that is on someone like Joey, who's really zoning off, and a lot of the protective nature of everyone around the carries on IMT's side.
Yeah, I guarantee in that moment right there when Bajani walked up, AoE would have fought, right? They would have just gone for it. And that's one of the things that has bought AoE a lot of time, is because this is a situation where Lulu can't really join. Now they're fighting.
Bijani, every time here, right, doesn't get chunked out right away, but eventually does, and NXI having to flash out of it because of being marked so low. Town getting hit by the charm. Immortals following up, still rocking the purple. Joey blasted out in the process, but the burn is still good from Immortals, and ADD coming down from the bot side on this Olaf means that they have this wave ushering onto that bot turret. They've already broken over on top, so they can start granting themselves this damage on this inhibitor to finish it off. And with CLG down their tank, even though they can go and heal up, they cannot stop the objective pressure that IMT are continuing to bring into the space.
Yeah, and IMT aren't having to do anything fancy in these engages. It's mostly just that CLG Faith. They're doing it at different times. And ADD, you have to be a little careful here. I know you have ultimate. Is going to be able to walk out. Will not pick up the inhibitor. But CLG Faith, they are going for it, and you can see what they're trying to go for, but it isn't a thing where it looks like it's being communicated nearly as cleanly. IMT just stand and deliver, and as they get ready, I mean, we said it was going to be one of the fastest souls ever. I would be very curious to see what time IMT actually killed this last dragon.
And with these Hex Gates, it feels like you can make it even faster, right? Every time Immortals are like, yeah, we want to make it as fast as possible. So we're just getting right back into the face of CLG, even after getting that reset, making it here before CLG can venture forward because of the way the warding is positioned. They're all around this red right now, but look at that lack of vision. IMT know that they don't have to dive unnecessarily. They just have to be around here to pressure CLG and keep them off of this dragon that is just now spawning.
And they start to back away. IMT not starting it immediately, but they have already convinced CLG Faith that it is not worth their time to come over here, and that it is going to be the Hex Tech Soul going over to IMT. I'm expecting, Gabby, that they will probably walk together. They will team fight once, and then the game will end from that position. And IMT very close to improving to 10 and 12, as it was about a 23, I want to say like 48 for the Soul. But look at Wixie's damage on Bijani.
Yeah, and grouping on up, like you said, just keeping themselves across a couple of these lanes. All that time, too, towards Dragon, you saw those supers from the top side collapsing in. They got a pretty decent chunk onto that Nexus turret, so CLG have already been forced to bring their attention into multiple places, taking down the mid turret for IMT. First to go in, first into stasis, and first to go down is the bot lane of CLG Faith. They want to answer it back onto Balulu, but Balulu going golden is feeling good. IMT not losing a single member. They have multiple waves coming in. Look, it's just a couple more autos to hit onto those inhibitors. So even if they weren't finishing now, it's definitely setting up to later, but they're going to do exactly that. Immortals getting the 10 to 12 that they are looking for and making sure the entirety of the team are here so they can celebrate across the fountain of CLG Faith. Immortals with the victory.
Very clean 2-0 coming out from Immortals. This is kind of what we were expecting, but also kind of what we were needing for Immortals to give them a little bit more props as we start looking towards the playoffs. We have to remember that tomorrow Immortals are also playing up against Fly Fam, so congratulations to Immortals and making sure that they are continuing to stick up with their expectations.
I thought you were about to say congratulations to Immortals on more victories, and I was like,
more
damn,
victories. Are
you about to throw out a prediction for that, just like that? But
oh, not yet.
not yet. But I think it is a good point to make when you're looking at a team that is favored to get the wins. It does matter in what fashion when the focus is development and seeing how these players grow. You don't want to just get the dub. You want to see how you do it. And I think Immortals can feel good about this 2-0 win. We do have one more series that we have on this broadcast. I'm excited to round things out with Joshi. For now, kicking it to a break, and we will see you soon enough for our interview.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to our post-series interview. I have the one and only Joey coming in from Immortals Challengers after a 2-0 victory. First off, congrats on the win, Joey.
Thank you. Happy with the 2-0.
Yeah, you have a weekend against the bottom two teams in the standings right now. How confident are you that you're going to end on the 4-0? Is this the 4-0 weekend for Immortals?
I mean, there's a lot of talk about it in the office that if we don't 4-0, then we're just kind of bad. So we're just trying to not be bad. So yeah, we're pretty confident in the 4-0.
All right. We'll see if you got it in you. Because it has been a slow start for Immortals Challengers. If we're being honest right now, you're currently kind of like lower middle of the pack. Are you panicking? How's the team mental doing? How's everyone holding in?
We're doing really well. Like we had like a bit of the copium because our mid laner came a little bit late, so we're behind the teams, and I feel like we're improving really fast. And we're taking like that approach really systematically. Like our coaches have like a really nice laid out plan for the split, and like we're kind of like shoring up like all parts of our game. So it really feels like week by week we're actually like improving a lot faster than all the other academy teams. So I'm not worried at all. I mean, it's like
Challenger teams. Challenger teams, Joey. You should know this.
Oh, a Challenger team. Sorry.
You get fined every time, by the way.
Oh, no.
So we're gonna take an inch off your hair each time you say academy. You mentioned the structure of the coaches' approach. Can you share a little bit more? Like as a player, what's it like? What are the focuses of that structure? How could the players watching learn from what you've learned?
I mean, like we just focus on individual parts of the game every week, but then like keep reminders week to week of what we worked on before. So like laning, early game. Now like we're working more towards like mid game, objective setups, all that type of stuff. So it's just eventually we'll just be the perfect League of Legends team.
Eventually, given infinite time, what's the biggest thing that you've learned for a personal takeaway that you've had so far with the coaching structure?
I think that I just I have a lot to work on. Like there's a lot of mechanical things that I'm messing up. Like Draxler really holds me accountable to a bunch of things. He's our 10-man positional coach for Immortals. And I think like overall like the advice he's given me and the tips he's given me has really like helped me frame my mindset a lot better. So I think I'm improving a lot faster this split than I did last split.
All right. Exciting to see where that takes you going forward. Speaking of, I'd love to look to the future because this is what we would consider the easy week for you. But next week, I don't think the same can be said. You do have, looking at your schedule, Evil Geniuses Challengers, Dignitas Challengers, currently tied for first place, and FlyQuest Challengers. Stiff competition. Give me your predicted win-loss record for the final week of your regular season. And if you're wrong, you have to come work out with me at my gym.
Okay, I'll accept that. I mean, I don't know why you said we don't have an easy week, because that seems pretty easy to me. I think we'll probably go 5-1 that week. And you can hold me accountable to that.
Let's go! I love to hear it. So that's your confidence going into the future. 5-1. Joshi, remember that, because I know I'm going to forget. But he's listening right now, so maybe between both of our brains, we'll be able to remember. How's it been playing with the team so far? Because this is my first time getting to chat with you this split, and Wixie's come in. Little bit of history between the two of you. He knocked you down in Proving Ground Summer last year into the lower bracket. Was it awkward, the first couple days?
That part wasn't awkward. It was more like he beat us in spring when we were on stage and like we lost like a really close game. So like for some reason I get reminded of it every single day, but I've really enjoyed working with Wixie. He's like really young and he's like a very coachable player. Like he takes all my advice that I give him and like he's improved so fast since he's been like working with me. And I'm like really happy for that because like some people like they take a while to improve, but he's like really hungry for knowledge and he like just takes it in really easily. Is
the team going to review the stolen pentakill from game 1? Because I think he could have got it. He got the quadra. It was close.
So after the first kill, I literally said, guys, give Wixie penta. This is his penta. Please give him penta. And the only comms I talked about was give him penta. But we have this thing in scrims where like we deny him pentas.
What?
But like we say on stage, you have to give him the penta because it's a stage game. But in scrims, just like fine to mess around, But I don't know, man. Balulu is just too toxic.
So rude.
Yeah.
That is so rude. Wait. Okay. Let me check the tape. I actually have it here. Does he have any pentas listed on his page? I actually don't know if he does.
He has one unofficial pentakill. He got a pentakill at level 6 against I don't remember. I think it was our first week or something like that. He got an unofficial penta on Zeri, which should have been a penta, but it just wasn't. Like he got 5 kills in a row.
Well, we actually have one listed here from this spring on Varus. I
don't remember that.
Huh. Well, clearly I don't either. All right, but he has gotten pentas on stage. That's good to know. I want to close out on a fun note here, Joey. Your hair's looking fantastic. I just want to remind everybody you can't see me right now, but look at this glow up, everybody. This was the 2018 Joey, and now look at him. Oh, it's beautiful. How long can we expect that hair to last, Joey?
The second I 0-2, I'm just shaving it all.
Second you 0...
Or maybe if Proving Grounds,
we have that.
Like I always, when I lose the first round of Proving Grounds, I cut my hair because that's time to get serious,
Okay. Oh, so you're gonna do the bald buff if you drop into the lower bracket.
But lower.
Yeah. Well, you just said shave it all off. I don't know. We're scaling back now, Joey.
We have different. Like shave it all off just means different to me and you.
Fair enough. Well, thank you, Joey, for coming on and chatting. It's always a pleasure. Congrats on the win, and best of luck going into your prep for tomorrow's matches.
Appreciate it.
All right, with that said, we're going to send it to a short break before we're back with our final match of the day. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back.